The room being on fire presents you a set of choices. We don't control what has happened, but we control how we respond to what happened.
What do those books say about, and what does Stoicism say about how we confront unexpected crises in our lives that we are clearly not responsible for? You know, a cancer diagnosis, we get fired from work, something else bad happens that we were not responsible for.
To me, the essence of Stoicism is the idea that we don't control what has happened, but we control how we respond to what happens. And so, Marcus's idea, which I have tattooed on my arm, the obstacle is the way, he says, what stands in the way becomes the way. Basically, it's like nothing can actually stop us from what we're trying to do because we can accommodate, adjust, and adapt. He says we can convert obstacles to our own purposes. Basically, what he's saying is that stuff happens, stuff we dread having happen, that we did everything in our power to prevent from happening. That's not our fault. It's totally screwed up. It's painful, all of that. But it does happen, right? And he says, he's basically saying that now that it's happened, what opportunity does it present you? And it doesn't mean, oh, hey, your mother died. That's great for your business. That's not what he's saying. Like, he's not saying, oh, this is wonderful. But he's saying that this tragic, terrible, frustrating, painful thing happened. There are opportunities in that for you to step up, to grow, to be there for other people, to illustrate or demonstrate the Stoic virtues.
In moments of crisis in like business, I always think you have a couple of types of people. Say this room is on fire. Mm-hmm. Person A, paralyzed with fear, saying nothing.
Yeah.
Person B, screaming.
Sure.
Also unhelpful, we're going to die. Person C knows the room is on fire, doesn't need to say the room is on fire, totally focused on getting out of the room.
Yes.
And it's a different way to handle crisis. Some people just default to practical.
Well, maybe there's another person there, to extend this analogy, who helps those other people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Like the idea is the thing is happening. What is it going to draw out of you? Who are you going to be in response to that thing happening? That's what the obstacle is the way it means. It's not that it's great that the room is on fire. The room being on fire presents you a set of choices.
How do I become the person who is going to survive the fire because I'm focused not on the fact that the room is on fire? I mean, I'm aware of that. I'm not denying the reality of the burning room, but I'm using my energy on what I can control, which is getting myself and these other people out of the room. Is it a practice? Is it like going to the gym? Some people just seem to have it. Childhood trauma seems to play into that as well, because some people just have a pessimistic attitude to things and they worry and panic.
But that is kind of the practice, right? Like what they have been through, they have been in rooms that were on fire before, different kinds of fire. Mm-hmm. But this isn't a new situation to them, right? And that is one of the things also that we can say to ourselves when we're going through shit, right? Whether it's this pandemic or it's this downturn in your business or it's this, employee who stole from you or whatever, you go, this is practice. This is reps, right? Like I am going to emerge out of the other side of this, a person who has been through things like this. And if you haven't before, if this is the first time, maybe you won't handle it great, but you can decide to be the person who has learned from that process.
I guess the danger is I go through it once and it's so horrific that I avoid all circumstances or environments where I might ever go through such a thing again. Yes.
So you have emerged weaker and more fragile for what you've gone through, which is probably not the way to do it. I've said this to people. It's like, hey, we just lived through this massive historical event together and we're here. Like we made it, It's not to say anything about the people who didn't make it. What I mean is like we got through it. If you had asked that person in March 2020 if they could get through 3 years of a pandemic, millions of people died, where everything was shut down, where there was political unrest and supply chain and logistics crises, and everyone had to work from home, and down the list of all that stuff, even just half of it, they would have said like, so I lost everything, right? Like, like it destroyed me, right? I don't have what it takes to get through that. But you did, because you didn't get through all of it at once. It was one thing after another, and you adjusted and you adapted and you got stronger as you went. And you just realize as you go through things, exactly what Seneca says, like the person who hasn't been tested doesn't know. But when you have been tested, when you have gone through things, you can take from that a sense of your capacities, your capabilities, which are almost always greater than you think they are. And so it's just a way to go through life. You don't want it to be that way. You would prefer that it didn't happen that way, that the things went the way they were supposed to go, but they didn't. And now they are the way that they are. And now I have to call this person to my office and let them go. Now I have to suddenly raise X millions of dollars to keep the business going if we're going to have any hope of surviving, and I've got 30 days to do it, right? Like the situation is the situation, and what is it going to teach me? How am I going to grow from it? How am I going to be better for it?